So this very, very brief PowerPoint is just going to introduce you to the concepts of resiliency, grit, and stoicism from a psychological perspective. Part of introducing you to these concepts, we're also going to dive in and look at some of the similarities and the differences, and then how each is developed and actually applied in life. Lots of examples. So let's start with some definitions. Resiliency is defined as the ability to recover quickly from difficulties or psychological toughness. So when I think of Oprah Winfrey, she's kind of the epitome of a resilient person. She had a horrible childhood, and here she is in adulthood, well-adjusted, mentally well, and successful. So she has psychological toughness. She is a resilient person. Grit would be perseverance and passion for long-term goals. So why are you in college? What is your end goal, sort of thing? And that goal, that passion for that career that you went down the road, that's what's going to let you get through the hard classes, stay up late studying. That's giving you your grit because of those long-term goals. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that I can't do justice to in this PowerPoint, but from a psychological perspective, it promotes endurance of pain or hardship without complaint. So whether something good happens in your life or something horrible happens in your life, you approach it with the same sort of emotional evenness. So there are some similarities between these three concepts. So all three involve mental strength and perseverance, and they all help individuals cope with challenges and with stress. The difference is that resiliency is focusing on bouncing back from adversity, grit involves sustained effort towards a long-term goal, and stoicism emphasizes that emotional control and acceptance of what cannot be changed. So in stoicism, you kind of there's so much in life that you can't control, so why waste any effort on it at all? Instead, you focus on what you can do and you approach it with calmness. So some more examples. I promised you plenty of examples. Resiliency, a person overcoming a major setback. Grit would be an athlete training for years to compete in the Olympics. And stoicism would be a philosopher maintaining calm during personal loss. If you've ever read the entire Little House on the Prairie series, it's well worth reading. Every year something happened to their crop, sort of thing. And they didn't have meltdowns, even though they were facing starvation many times. You can't control what happens, right? And so you focus on what you can and you move forward and don't waste any emotional energy on it. So how do you develop these traits? Resiliency is developed through supportive relationships, positive coping strategies, and adaptive thinking. Grit is built by setting those long-term goals, cultivating that passion, and practicing that perseverance. Many of those athletes, wake up before the dawn, sort of thing, and that's not easy day after day. But you practice that perseverance and you push through. Stoicism is cultivated through self-reflection, mindfulness, and an understanding of the Stoic philosophy. So there are some pros and cons. So with resiliency, the pros are you're flexible and you're adaptable, but the cons are that the constant pressure to bounce back, you're not addressing any of the underlying issues. So for example, there's a huge study called the study of Kauai, where Emmy Werner studied a group of children from Hawaii and then followed them throughout the years. And many of these children, were in families with very serious addiction issues and things like that. And if all you're trying to do is teach them strategies to bounce back, you're not addressing what they're having to bounce back from, sort of thing, such as substance abuse. And so that's a con in terms of resiliency is, you want to be resilient and bounce back, but you also need to fix whatever is making you have the need to bounce back. Then grit, again, the pros are persistence, long-term achievement. Cons, you can have burnout or an obsession with goals. And so, maybe your goal is to be a medical doctor. And so you spend every waking hour studying for the tests you have to do, for the classes you have to take. That's not a balanced life. You also need to have, family and friends and hobbies, sort of thing. And so if all it is that goal, you can you have a very narrow and unbalanced life, or lead to burnout. And then stoicism. The pros, again, are that emotional control, the focus on what you can control, but then you can have the risk of emotional suppression or detachment, or, at least show a lack of empathy, sort of thing. All right, so some personality characteristics linked to these ideas. Resilient individuals tend to be high in optimism, self-efficacy, and emotional regulation. Individuals high in grit are also high in conscientiousness, paying attention to those details, their passion and their perseverance. And then stoic individuals tend to be high in self-discipline, emotional stability, and wisdom has been linked with that. So now let's kind of look at a cultural historical perspective. Resiliency, again, it's emphasized in cultures facing frequent adversity or collective trauma, where maybe wars happen a lot, those sorts of things. Grit is valued in societies like ours with individual culture where we're concerned with personal achievement. So it wouldn't be as highly valued in a more of a collectivistic culture. And then again, Stoicism's rooted in ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, is very individualistic in the Western thought. It's kind of, to use kind of what people will say, it's like suck it up, buttercup, or pull yourself up by the bootstraps sort of thing. And so it's very much so rooted in our Western thought. So a little bit more example, resiliency would be a community rebuilding after a natural disaster. Grit would be a scientist working through repeated failures to achieve a breakthrough. And then Stoicism would be a leader maintaining composure in a crisis. All right, so conclusion. Resiliency, grit, and Stoicism. Oh, I apologize for the typo. Stoicism should always be capitalized. But anyway, they are crucial traits for overcoming challenges. Each has unique strengths and potential drawbacks, and understanding these concepts can help us develop them in ourselves and others.